Hi, this is Reynolds and Trang from the Gwinnett County Public Library, and welcome to Cooking Around the World, where we look at recipes from around the world, test them out, and teach you how to make them. Today, we'll be looking at Chai Thai, which is a tropical fruit cocktail from Vietnam, which is inspired by the Thai classic Tum Tim Grab. First, we're going to go over the ingredients that we need. Feel free to use whatever ingredients you would like and mix it up. You can pause on this screen to write down the ingredients or take a screenshot. First, we're going to use sugar, then coconut gels. These are like little Jello squares made of coconut. Coconut cream, jackfruit. You can use fresh jackfruit or canned jackfruit, whatever you prefer. Palm seed slices. Any type of jelly powder will do, but you might have to change up your recipe depending on how it needs to be made. Food coloring, any brand in any color will be fine. Agar-Agar powder. And finally, just water. We're going to go get started with our Jello first. Feel free to pause here to get our recipe down. For starters, we're going to bring a cup of water to a boil. Now for this recipe, you can really use whatever type of Jello that you prefer. But just remember that if you don't follow our recipe, make sure to follow whatever recipe is on the box. Now for ours, we're going to use a whole package of this jelly powder. If you have trouble finding it, you can always find it at your local Asian market. Then we'll be adding 3 tablespoons of sugar. And go ahead and mix that well. Then we're going to add our mixture into our boiling water. And just go ahead and stir it around when you're adding it in, just to make sure that you don't get any clumps. And you'll see that it starts to thicken. We're going to go ahead and add our food coloring in. We chose to use green just to make the drink look really pretty, but you can use whatever color you'd like. And just a few drops should do. Now see that you're mixing it up, you can see that it's already becoming a little thicker. Now we want to go ahead and strain it, just to get any clumps of anything left out of it when we go to refrigerate it. And so go ahead and pop that in the refrigerator, and once it's cooled for a few hours, you'll be able to feel that it's a little firm. And that's how you'll know that it's done. And then we're just going to chop it up. So go ahead and pop it out of there. You might need to use a knife to get it nice and clean out. There we go. Now we're going to use this nice knife with the edges, but you can use whatever knife you have. This is just going to make it look a little more fancy. Now, how big or how long you'd like these Jello strips to be is totally up to you. We do like to cut them to where they're a bit bite-sized. That way it's a little more managing in the cocktail. We're going to get started on our second Jello using the Agar-Agar powder. And we're going to do that by bringing 1 cup of water to a boil again. Now, the difference between using the jelly powder versus the Agar-Agar is just the firmness between the two Jellos, just to give a little more texture to the fruit cocktail that we're making. And so while that's bringing to a boil, we'll mix about 1/3 a bag of Agar-Agar powder. And we're going to mix that with 2 tablespoons of sugar. And once the water's to a boil, we'll go ahead and mix that in. Once again, make sure you're stirring it up so you can get rid of all the clumps. Now we're going to go ahead and add food coloring. We're going to add red for this one. But once again, you can choose whatever colors you'd like. And we'll just strain again. And then add it to our refrigerator for a few hours. And now once it's ready, just make sure it's nice and firm before you get ready to cut it up. And we're going to use the same knife that we cut the green Jello with. You will notice if you're using 2 different kinds of Jello that they will feel a little bit different in firmness as you cut, and you might even be able to see it here in the video a little bit. And once again, you can cut however you'd like and into however big or small pieces that you prefer. Now move on to preparing our fruit with the jackfruit first. We decided just to use 2 cans of jackfruit. If you'd like to use fresh jackfruit, you're totally welcome to do that. And we're going to go ahead and drain the syrup from the jackfruit. Now it's important here that whatever fruit you use, you can always use for your syrup mixture later. We choose not to, but it's always an option. So feel free to save this for later for the recipe or for a different recipe you want, or just toss it out. And then we're just going to go ahead and slice up our jackfruit, and we're going to try and keep it similar sizes to what we did our Jello, just to keep things within the fruit cocktail nice and consistent. Now when it comes to our palm seed slices, we're going to go ahead and drain those as well. And for these, we're going to wash them thoroughly. So what we'll do is we'll strain them and then wash them in some cold water. So they're a little bigger and rounder. We're going to also keep our palm seed slices just sliced how they are coming in the can. So nice and easy to prepare. We're going to go ahead and move on to our coconut gels. And what we're going to want to do is strain these, and we're going to use both jars for this. And it's important to keep in mind how much you want to make. You might want to double the recipe or make it smaller depending on how much you're making and how many people you're making it for. Now for this, we can set aside the syrup for later. We're not going to use it for our recipe, but you're welcome to use it for your own if you'd like. And once we've got those strained, we'll move on to our syrup. We'll just be making a simple sugar syrup for our recipe with 1 cup of water and 1 cup of sugar. And what you're going to want to do is bring that cup of water to boil yet again so you can melt down the sugar. As I've mentioned earlier, you can go ahead and use the fruit juices if you'd like to make your syrup, whether you want to add it into this syrup or just use the fruit juices instead. That's all what your preference will be. So you really just want to give this time to melt down, get rid of all the granules of sugar. And once you're done, you'll have a nice clear little liquid to add to your fruit cocktail. For our coconut cream recipe, you're going to need 1 can of coconut cream, sugar, and salt. For starters, we're going to make sure to shake the coconut cream can, and then we'll prepare to bring it to a boil. With both our syrup recipe and our coconut cream recipe, you're going to want to make sure you cool them before you add them to your cocktail. Now once your coconut cream starts to get a little bubbly, we're going to go ahead and add the other ingredients. Make sure to stir it around so you can make sure all the sugar and salt gets melted down into that coconut cream. And here you can really add more sugar or less sugar depending on what you like. A good alternative if you don't want the coconut cream is you could always use half and half for this recipe. And just a pinch of salt right there. And just a reminder again, just make sure this cools before you add it to your fruit cocktail. We've prepped all the ingredients, we're going to go ahead and put it all together. Now we're going to start off with some crushed or shaved ice at the bottom of our glass. Then we're going to add some of the green Jello. You can add in whatever order you like, and however much or little you like of each ingredient. And as you can see on the table, we have both the coconut cream as well as a half and half. Then we're going to add the palm seed slices. Then the red Jello. And the coconut gels. We'll top it off with the jackfruit at the top. You can see this comes together with all these nice colors for summer. You can always add more or less fruit, whatever type you'd like. Now we're going to add that sugary syrup. For this, just add as much or as little as you want depending on how sweet you want it. And then we'll add our coconut cream. And there you have it, a quick and easy recipe to make a nice fruit cocktail from Vietnam. Enjoy!